Hello and good evening. Thank you for attending this PowerPoint. My name is Paige DePalma, and here is part one of my restaurant application capstone presentation. So for this part one, we're going to start out with the front-end architecture, authentication, and the app diagram. So first, we have our application overview diagram. We start out here in the front end with Node.js, then we have React, as well as Next, the code libraries and framework. Then if we go into the back end, we have Stripe, the payment processing system, Strapi for authentication, as well as GraphQL, the Apollo for the API. And then we have SQLite for the database, which already came with the starter codes. A little difficulty with the Mongo and ended up using this instead and sticking with that. The server is deployed with Ubuntu, DigitalOcean through the GitHub repository and terms. And then you can see here the stack restaurant application, and the domain I got is devstage.net with Sponge. So if we start out with the front end architecture, so these are describing the component architecture. We have, for instance, the project follows a component-based approach with the user interface organized into usable components. These components are located within the components directory, and they provide various functionalities of the application. For instance, Auth.js for authentication handles the user authentication functionalities such as login, registration. Cart.js manages the cart, allowing the users to either add or remove dishes. If we go to checkout form.js, that provides a form component for collecting the user's information as well as the payment details during checkout. Context.js implements React context for managing global application state. Dishes.js, for instance, renders a list of restaurant dishes. Layout.js defines the overall structure of the application layout, including navigation, header, footer, things of that sort. And then for the restaurant list.js, this displays the list of restaurants based on user search criteria. So for my UI design decisions, I decided to create a simple UI design by using the basic principles, such as user experience and accessibility. The goal is that users can use the application seamlessly. By using a framework, this will help me to make a consistent design element and components so that hopefully the user experience is better, more positive. From the starter code, for instance, with UI, we have a turquoise blue button on the restaurant's main page when we decide to look into different functions, as well as instead of making portrait mode photos of the restaurant and the dishes, I chose to have them in landscape to match the measurements provided in the starter file. And how did I design? The design decisions change the functionality provided in Next.js. So my design decisions evolved as I learned more following the Next.js guidelines, and therefore helping me to develop, progress, and enhance the user experience. Also, Next.js's dynamic routing gave me the ability to create those seamless transitions between the pages, therefore enriching my design with interactive elements without compromising the speed. So let's go to the next page here. And here you can see the different components for the front end. Okay, so now we're in authentication. So here we are. We have Strapi, which has different types of things, which will, confirming the different types of orders on the back end of Strapi, as well as user permissions, which is like username, email, making sure that that everything that goes on when somebody logs in is therefore in the back as well, and not just anybody can access that, but only those with the permission to do so. And in terms of highlighting two methods of authentication that I did develop, one of them would be OAuth, and the other is the JSON Web Tokens. And so this would be because there's security there, but also I believe they're considered best practices with developers. So the challenges that I encountered were, for instance, setting up OAuth, and I found that difficult to configure and implement. And I only used the JSON Web Token ultimately, because while I encountered setting up the OAuth for the authentication, I just ended up focusing on the web token, the JSON Web Token, and that was how I ensured security and functionality in the application. So ultimately, within the time period and the time constraints of the deadline, I wasn't able to resolve the OAuth implementation, but I will continue to remain proactive and looking to effectively implement and do that for a future challenge. So, okay, let's go into Stripe. So the payment provider that I used was Stripe. How does it work? Stripe will process a payment, accept payments, as well as send payouts and automate the financial processes. And challenges that I encountered, it was a lot of ongoing struggles back and forth. I actually ended up working with program support a few different times to understand the roles and permissions portion of the back end. And of course, again, how did I overcome these issues? I reached out to program support, as well as used YouTube videos and the internet as the different issues arose regarding using Stripe. And for instance, you can see here we have the API keys. So if I'm sorry, we don't have the API keys here, but we have the keys that we put into our front end. So let me actually do this. Right. The full screen for a second here, and then we're going to go into our front end, and let's see, we have out here you can see the JSON Web Token, as well as if we go to maybe check. We have our different user elements that we do Stripe and React here. So Next, we have our part two, and so please join me for that. And go ahead.